Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. Sometimes I hate my late fiancé copyright for committing suicide. I feel so selfish, but he left me here to face life alone, knowing he was the only person I felt safe with. It's been 5 years. Sometimes I daydream about him coming back and me just collapsing into his arms in a mess of tears, and need to feel his warmth and be enveloped in his scent. Sometimes I scream and cuss his name so loud I'm surprised my neighbors haven't called the cops. I think by now they know that my house is haunted. By my house, I mean my body. By haunted I mean I can't even stand my reflection because I see the empty space behind me that once held his silhouette. I see his face pressed against my cheek and a goofy smile with that chipped tooth I owned so much. I didn't kiss that face enough. It deserved all my kisses. I know he was suffering and I'm so glad he isn't anymore. But now I'm suffering and I can't even make it stop because I know the pain it would cause and I refuse to let the cycle continue. I love him so much and that love has nowhere to go anymore, so it manifests as hate. I always hear the quote, "Hate is too strong of an emotion to waste on my enemies." I guess we keep it reserved for times like this. End of story. Next story. OnlyFans girls aren't personally messaging you like you think it's dudes like me getting paid by you. I'm a guy who does account management for girls on OnlyFans. I literally get paid by dudes to message them back. I get nice tips as well, sometimes $100 minus $400. Next time you're messaging that girl, remember you might be talking to me. Edit. Some guy posted said I was fake, so I will go into further detail. The first time I started was when I made $40 since I was new to this. I was helping out my friend when we were hanging out since she had many guys messaging her. Secondly, I make tips from messaging guys as well. You can tip on the app and I'll split it with them. Lastly, I get 30% from new girls joining the platform. End of story. Next story. I think Beyoncé copyright is overrated. Shea Euro pretty and all, but I don't Euro get why we consider her the queen. Shea Euro not that amazing. Am I the only one? End of story. Next story. I just found out that my ex-girlfriend peed on me 4 years ago. Yeah. Title is weird. Let me explain. The most important thing to remember in this story is that this was my first girlfriend, and I was quite sheltered growing up. So about 4 years ago, I had just started dating a girl, both seniors in high school, and, as dumb teenagers do, we found ourselves making out in her car. It was pretty hot and heavy, although all our clothes were on and we were slow to get handsy. After about 10 to 15 minutes of this, I moved my hands on her jean thigh and started to move it up her leg. As I got closer to her crotch, I started to feel something wet. Like, really wet. I got confused for a second. Then she said, "OMG, you made me so wet, babe." Quote. And I believed her. Her pants were soaked around the crotch. Being the dumbass 17-year-old that I was, I actually thought that it was possible, and even more far-reaching, that I was capable of making a girl pre-cum so much that her jeans could soak through. We ended up just laughing about it, and I took her home so she could change with no further action that night. Well, the relationship ran its course, with no similar incidents. And we broke up. However, over the years I kept the story to myself to save her any embarrassment. But in my mind, that story was one of my greatest achievements. The absolute sex god that I am was able to turn a girl into a damn waterfall with nothing but kissing. I was a legend. Fast forward to tonight. I'm recently married and haven't seen my ex in years. A couple of my friends, one in particular, was close to her for a while after we broke up, but ultimately their friendship fizzled out as well. I happen to be hanging out with this friend and a few others tonight, and we heard the song WAP, Wet Ass Pussy, come on in the background. We made some jokes about how weird the song was, and I was reminded of my story. I decided, since it had been some years since anyone had talked to her, I could safely share the story with my friends for a laugh. About halfway through the story, the friend that used to be close to my ex busted out laughing till he could barely breath. And between laughs, breathed out, "I've heard this story before. You know where this is going." Apparently my ex really had to pee before she got in the car. Didn't tell me she needed to. And then when we started kissing, she lost all bladder control but was too scared to admit what happened. My ego hurts tonight, man. End of story. Next story. I was a bad babysitter when I was 15/16. I would watch my mom's boss's kids while they were out until 1 or 2 a.m. getting drunk. I took care of the kids until they went to sleep, but after they were out, I'd get a small cup of chocolate-flavored vodka from their pantry, as many fruit by the foot and gushes as I could hold, and watch porn on their desktop computer until I was really wet, and then I'd masturbate in their bed thinking about the dad. He was a really good-looking, fit Italian 45-year-old lawyer. Looking back, I've always wondered if they had any cameras, but they kept having me back, so probably not. The best part was they would always get back drunk and empty their wallet to pay me. Usually around $100. Edit. It has been 11 years since this happened. I no longer masturbate in people's beds. I just masturbate in my own home these days. Also, the response to this is really crazy. And this is one of my tamer stories. Haha. End of story. Next story. Today I found out my grandma takes pictures on her iPhone by taking screenshots whilst on the camera app. I didn't have the heart to tell her it was wrong. End of story. Next story. I beat the crap out of an elderly cab driver a couple of years ago. When I was 24. While I was in Egypt, I got into a cab home. The driver was on the higher end of 40. I was looking at my phone when he swirled, taking a sharp left, and then drove straight again. I thought there was a pothole or something, so I ignored it. A minute later, same thing. Now I started paying attention. I looked at the road, and apparently he was trying to hit the street cats. He swirled again, and this time the car made a little yum. I heard a screeching noise and the cab driver started laughing. I told him to stop for a minute. Very calmly got out and looked back. Yes, there it was. A half-squished dying cat. I went back to the cab. This time to the driver's side. I didn't say a word. Just opened the door, pulled out the driver, and proceeded to beat him like a maniac. He was already bleeding everywhere when finally some pedestrians pulled me of him. I managed to get a final kick out before I got dragged away. Since I speak the language, I was able to tell them what happened, and they told me to get away fast before the police came. To this day I don't regret what I did. But I never told anyone. Edit. By elderly I mean oldish. I thought that's the same thing. English is not my first language. Why? End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.